That day when we discussed the three fundamental principles and the 9 logical reasons that support them in our teachings, in commentary on opening the door to mind training, when I was teaching back at that particular time, I had already thoroughly explained the 9 reasons. And then yesterday there was another one. Among types of farming, autumn plowing is important. I looked it up regarding autumn plowing. After we have just finished carefully harvesting all of the crops, generally speaking, farmers, before the ground freezes, they turn over and plow the soil again in their fields, you know. This way, when spring comes the following year, the soil will be loosened, and at that time, plowing is very easy. So generally talking about tilling, autumn plowing is still very significant. It lays the foundation, that's what it means. That's not wrong. Yesterday an elderly monk said, this is meant for spring, but it's not. So where exactly are we in our teaching today? Yesterday was about Dromtonpa, right? If you don't fully understand the story of Dromtonpa, teachers should explain it. Otherwise, some Tibetan customs might not be understood by those unfamiliar. Dromtonpa, at the same time, accomplished 4 or 5 great things. Do you understand? Did you truly understand yesterday's story? It seems like no one really understood. Never mind, let's take it slow. Next, let's take a look. After concluding the story about Dromtonpa, the Venerable Master Yangzun from the region of Yiwa said that to cut off attachment to this life, it is crucial to regularly contemplate impermanence as an antidote. If in the morning you neglect to meditate on impermanence, then half the day will have been completely wasted on worldly matters. If you don't contemplate in the morning, you might end up spending the time from morning to noon on trivial tasks. If you don't reflect on impermanence in the afternoon, then the evening will already have been wasted on worldly matters. Truly, the great masters of the past would contemplate in the morning and afternoon, spending the entire day practicing the true Dharma for the sake of future lives. If you waste your time on this life like this, then none of your actions will in any way become genuine Dharma practice. Some people completely ignore impermanence if you do this. Everything you do ends up being non-dharmic and ultimately harmful and ultimately meaningless. But some realize, I don't know if I'll still be alive tomorrow. So today I'll be diligent. I should recite mantras and make prostrations. Then naturally you develop a kind of self-motivating force. Truly, contemplating impermanence is very important. Geshe Jinwa also said, if you skip your morning meditation on impermanence, the entire day will be lost to worldly concerns. Many great masters would contemplate impermanence as soon as they arose each morning. Our own practice of sitting in meditation in the morning and evening, in the preliminary practice guide, there is a special practical instruction. I instructed everyone to practice this before. Not sure if you've forgotten. Inside, there are key points for the body, for speech, for mind, and prayers. These 4 are the preliminaries, the main practice, whether impermanence or anything. And finally, how to conclude. This is important for any practice. I think everyone has the preliminary practice guide, right? Later, for some important part, just like this time, recite them, which could serve as a reminder for everyone. We must take our practice seriously now. Otherwise, after spending many years here, when it comes time to leave, if your mind is even harder than before, even more rigid and coarse than when you first arrived, it's of no use, except for the merit of hearing the Dharma and having planted a seed in your mind stream. Other than that, there's no real meaning. Geshe Karakpa also said in his teachings, there is no place where one can escape death. It's for all. And death comes quite swiftly, very swiftly indeed. At the time of death, nothing else really matters. We should continuously maintain in our mind a sense of urgency, without any leisure or idleness. Venerable Drakpa also said, driven by the motivation for this present life alone, no matter how diligently you toil, but on the day of death, we still have to leave empty-handed and completely naked with nothing at all. If you're busy with this life, at this, you may not even have recited the Mani Mantra 10 million times. Many of us say, though I haven't studied much, I have recited so many mantras, so many Amitabha Buddha's name in this life, especially you, but including myself as well. I haven't even finished reciting Amitabha's name truly. I feel ashamed. Therefore, keep death at your pillow side, as if it were a tangible thing. Always keep it by your pillow. Always keep it as close to yourself as possible. Constantly contemplate it. Otherwise, death is not physically beside you. It means to keep the thought of death by your pillow, so you see it often. That's the meaning. Practice pure dharma without mixed worldly thoughts. Gyalva Karmapa, another Karmapa. The Karmapa also pointed out that right now we should fear death, but at the time of dying, we should be fearless. But for us, it's the opposite. Now we're fearless, but at the end, we clutch our chests with our fingernails in terror. Logically, we should feel fear now and practice diligently. Then nufiatis like milarepa. Just like that, he was afraid at first, but no fear of death. Many of us aren't afraid at first. We don't fear death. But when facing death, we're terrified in the hospital. There was a Lama we knew, the head of a charity hospital. He said, I don't dare to get a medical checkup. If I did, these hospitals can be quite troubling. If they diagnose me with late-stage cancer at this point in my life, then I'll be terrified. Late-stage cancer is frightening to contemplate. When diagnosed with late-stage cancer, people often clutch their chest in desperation, crying, save me, doctor, don't let me die. True practitioners, they have been meditating on death and impermanence every day. So when death inevitably comes for them, they still greet it with a smile, without fear or sadness. They face it with confidence. That's why we should practice contemplating impermanence every day. Otherwise, if we only start meditating on it when the time comes, it won't work. When you get up in the morning or before you go to bed at night, if you make this a regular habit, then gradually your practice will truly develop and deepen in a meaningful way. This is good. Venerable Nyosho Khenpo also said, the first is to contemplate death and have the awareness of impermanence. Second, letting go of this life. Third, practicing dharma. If these three do not arise together, reflecting on impermanence, letting go of worldly concerns, and practicing dharma, these three should arise simultaneously. This means when contemplate impermanence, we naturally let go of this life and practice dharma. These three are inevitable and arise together. If these three don't arise together, then you're still believing you won't die, cling to this life and create negative karma. These three will also arise together. Years ago, when I was staying in that turf house, when I first saw this, I was very happy. It was probably 1986. I arrived in 1985, and in 1986, I found this text. At that time, I only had access to a very poor quality copy, barely legible. But when I saw this teaching, I was truly no view of impermanence. One may commit any negative deed. It clearly explains the benefits of contemplating death and impermanence and the faults of not doing so. Also, recalling impermanence can serve as the initial cause for entering Dharma. It's also in preliminary practices. In the middle, it supports diligence, and ultimately, it helps achieve the luminous Dhammakaya. Therefore, it is indeed extremely important. Many masters have emphasized this, and there's no shortage of such profound teachings. Furthermore, Bodhisattva Asanga himself also stated, if one genuinely contemplates impermanence, then one will not give rise to any unwholesome intentions. If one gives rise to a genuine, real, not fake, not a forced contemplation, but a naturally perception of impermanence, then one will not intend to do anything that is unwholesome or harmful. But those who truly develop this experience are indeed very few. There are not many. Amongst so many, those who have impermanence in their heart are still extremely rare. The time of death is utterly unpredictable. At death, nothing but Dharma will help. Taught by Togmi Sangpo, the master gave many such teachings and mainly practiced this as well. All right, we'll stop here.
Bandara